I will tell you something outrageous. Awakening does not begin with enlightenment. It begins with betrayal. The first betrayal is of the script that told you who you were supposed to be. Child of polite smiles, employee of predictable hours, citizen of borrowed opinions. Yet betrayal is not exile, it is invitation. Imagine a dinner party where chatter ricochets off shallow walls until a sudden silence exposes the hollowness beneath the laughter. You have stood in that hush, sensing the mask slide from your own face, sensing that everyone else felt it too. In that instant, you crossed an invisible threshold, like a wanderer stepping out of dusty daylight and into the charged twilight of an ancient forest. That is the mythic moment Joseph Campbell called the call to adventure, the thin, quivering line between automation and authenticity. We wake, then, with the faint dread of having lived mechanically. Day after day, the body rises, performs, returns, collapses, while the soul waits like an unplayed instrument. Campbell reminds us that the ordinary world is not merely mundane, it is anesthetic, a place where sensation is dulled so that duty can proceed. Yet somewhere inside, an archetypal hero stirs, the part of you that refuses to trade wonder for comfort. When you notice the dull edge of your own routines, you have already begun the departure. The friends who love you will misinterpret your restlessness as rejection, but you are not fleeing them. You are fleeing the graves of your unused possibilities. Masks abound. At work you answer, fine, when the real answer trembles. At home you scroll, nursing the ache of invisibility. Campbell would call these gestures the refusal of the call, the stage where safety disguises itself as loyalty. Still, the crack widens. You realize that every joke told too loudly, every opinion worn like armor is a confession of fear. The recognition hurts, but hurt is holy. It pries open the rusted bolts of perception. To step away from the crowd is not arrogance. It is the beginning of reverence, the hush before the chant, the wanderer's first footfall beyond the town gates. Solitude is the mentor none of us schedules. In the absence of applause, the inner drumbeat becomes audible. Campbell spoke of supernatural aid. Helpers appear once commitment is made. Sometimes the helper is a literal guide, but more often it is a symbol, a book that will not close, a dream that will not fade, a memory that will not stay silent. Out there, just beyond consensus reality, your mythic trailhead waits, marked not by neon but by nuance, the slight tingling when you dare to imagine a life untraded for approval. Take one step, and the forest swallows the road behind you. There is a hush between two heartbeats where the ordinary dissolves. That hush is the true call, and it asks no polite questions. It simply widens in your chest until you must follow or suffocate. You cross the threshold, not with drums, but with a whispered yes. In that moment, everyday rooms shapeshift. The kitchen at dawn becomes a hermitage. The evening commute turns pilgrimage. Your own reflection becomes both stranger and oracle. This is the initiation, the sacred corridor where solitude ripens into sanctuary. Silence accompanies you like a hooded companion. At first it seems oppressive, the absence of messages, the cancelled invitations, the puzzled glances of friends who sense your withdrawal. Yet each quiet hour is a purification, rinsing the psyche of borrowed noise. Campbell wrote that the hero meets the goddess, the embodiment of revelation, only after surrendering worldly chatter. The goddess may appear as insight, that your loneliness is not a deficit but a doorway, that the ache for belonging is really a compass pointing inward, to sit alone beneath an indifferent sky and feel utterly alive. This is initiation. Of course, the threshold is guarded. Doubt squats at the gate, hissing questions. Who are you to seek something deeper? What if you end up alone forever? Doubt's voice mimics wisdom, but its motive is inertia. The true guardian is fear, and fear respects courage more than comfort. Each time you breathe into the tremor rather than retreat, the forest yields another path. There, beneath the low boughs, you encounter archetypal tests, memories long buried, grief long postponed, talents long denied. They appear not as enemies but as neglected children who only wanted to be held. Pause here, traveler. If these words stir something, linger with me. Imagine a circle of sojourners around a hidden fire, each voice trembling yet determined. Step closer, share the spark of your own story in the comments. Subscribe not as a consumer, but as a companion. Our camp is lit for those who feel the pull of the unseen road. Trials gather like storm clouds. The path twists through valleys of misunderstanding where even loved ones become echoes. You speak a new language of subtlety. They reply in slogans. Isolation sharpens. Campbell's road of trials leads the hero through shadows that mirror the inner labyrinth. Your shadows wear familiar faces, the urge to posture, the hunger for instant validation, the temptation to return to the crowd and call the journey a phase. Yet each time the cycle repeats, you recognize the pattern sooner, and recognition itself is victory. One night, exhausted, you collapse beside a stream of doubt and hear it whisper, "No one will ever truly know you." But as moonlight shivers on the water, you sense another presence, authenticity, a quiet, unadorned figure who kneels beside you. She says nothing, merely removes her cloak. Beneath it she is scarred, luminous, and utterly real. You realize that connection without authenticity is mere proximity, and that a single gaze meeting yours without masks outweighs a theater of applause. Still, the tests escalate. The ordeal arrives when the old self, desperate for its familiar cage, lunges to reclaim the narrative. Sleep becomes battlefield. Dreams bleed into daylight. In that narrow passage, you meet the Shadow King, your own capacity for self-betrayal. Campbell called this the belly of the whale, the descent into the innermost cave where identity dissolves so essence can emerge. You surrender, not to defeat, but to transformation. The shell cracks. The song inside learns to breathe water. Friend, if your heart quivers at these images, know that you are already within the myth. Speak your tremor aloud. In the comments, let the raw syllables fall. In the subscription bell, hear not marketing but a temple gong summoning our fellowship each dawn. I await your footstep like a brother watching the horizon. Dawn after the long night is softer than legend admits. No trumpets, only the quiet knowledge that the cage door stands open and you are free to leave or stay. The return begins. You walk back into the marketplace carrying nothing visible, yet everything breathes differently. The barista's hello is a parable. The traffic light flickers oracle green. You are in the world, but not of it, wearing the city like a loose robe that cannot bind your skin. Solitude persists, but now it is spacious rather than sharp. It hums like a well-tuned string, resonant with the memory of the forest. You can sit at a crowded table and taste the hush beneath conversation. You can listen to complaints without absorbing them. You can love without grasping. Campbell spoke of mastering two worlds, and this is the mastery. The ability to serve the moment without surrendering your center. Freedom proves simpler than imagined. It is the courage to say yes when the body feels yes, no when the soul feels no. It is the discipline to protect mornings for reflection, to greet shadows as allies, to let laughter ring out even in the presence of sorrow. The boon you carry home is not doctrine, but presence, a wordless assurance that life is wider than any role you will ever play. When people ask what changed, you smile like a mountain glimpsed through mist. Explanations shrink the mystery, embodiment radiates it, and so the story circles without closing, because every return plants a new departure. Tonight another hush will pause a conversation somewhere, and another wanderer will feel the mask slip. Perhaps they will find this trail of words, these glowing embers of shared experience. If they do, may they recognize the signal. You are not alone. The forest remembers your name.